What this call is about is your water, and this is a very, very serious matter. As I begin to, as I've spent really the last month and a half to 2 months in deep research on what is the current status of our water, I am a little bit on the stunned side. I'm going to have to draw on, for those of you who know me, that know that I do not exaggerate, I do not sensationalize, and I do not dramatize. I state exactly the truth about what's going on. And in this particular situation, as I went through the information, I was beginning to wonder whether or not what I was learning about and studying was fear-mongering. And so I decided to go off of what people were saying, and I went to the actual studies. And what I found was that it was actually understated out there. And so I in no way intend in any shape, form, or fashion to sensationalize this. I'm giving it to you just as it is. I need to back up so that everyone can think about water in the correct way. And Mother Nature has done a beautiful thing for us out there, and that is that she kind of figured out that the Earth's crust is made up of about, or the surface of Earth is made up of 75% water, but only 1% of it is drinkable. And so what she decided to do was to create a clever little way that it would recharge itself. In other words, as we used water, consumed water, evaporated water, then it would recharge. And what you're looking at on your slide right there is actually that going on. And so right at the bottom center of the slide, it says surface water. And as that surface water gets heat from the sun, it evaporates and comes up. It comes up and forms clouds. And then the wind breaks these clouds apart, and they separate, and then it rains, sleets, snows, or hails down on top of Earth. And when that water comes down, some of that water runs off back into the rivers and streams, and some of that water, if you look in the lower right-hand corner of my slide there, you'll see that the water penetrates through the Earth's crust, and it gets down into little pools of water. And those pools of water underneath the ground are called aquifers. It's a Latin word. Agua means water, and fer means to bear water. Okay, so an aquifer is basically an underground pool of water. And what you'll see there is you'll see a pipe that goes down. So if you've heard of well water or spring water, what you're talking about there is actually underground water that comes up. Okay, go to the next slide. So, so if you just think about how that whole cycle works, then if someone were to say, "Wow, we need to get rid of these pests that are eating our bugs, are eating our plants," and so they spray a pesticide on top of that, then what you're going to have there is the pesticides on top of grass, on top of soccer fields, on top of golf courses, on top of plants or whatever. And as Mother Nature intended it, it rains, hails, sleet, or snows. And it grabs those pesticides and it pushes them or washes them into the stream. I don't think Mother Nature ever anticipated that we would put a chemical on there because of the way that it's designed. Some of that chemical will also penetrate down and get into the aquifers, all right? And some of it washes into the streams. And then guess what? The process starts over again. And so some of those toxins from the pesticide rise up and then cycle back through again. All right, next slide. So the damaging effect of this is that as I've evaluated it, water is the ultimate accumulation point of everything that everyone does. I used to have this sort of a feeling of, you know, well, whatever so-and-so wants to do, it's fine by me. Whatever my neighbors want to do is fine by me, until it finally hit me through doing all of this research that really what's going on is whatever your neighbor's doing, you're drinking. Whatever your neighbor flushes down their toilet, they think it goes away as you think it goes away, but away is, where is that place? Where is away? Away is water. That's where it ends up. And so if you look at that, so everything that happens in the urban space everything that happens in the mining space, everything that happens in industrial and agriculture, it all accumulates because of rain, sleet, hail, and snow. And then it all gets down to the bottom. And so my main point in these 3 slides is to show you that all of our water is contaminated. It doesn't matter if you get yours from a bottled water or if you get yours from the tap water, it's all contaminated. Next slide, please. So to give you some validation on this, the U.S. Geological Survey, they are really the keeper of water, if you will. They do all of the research and the studies and everything. And here's what they say. 97% of streams and 58% of groundwater contains pesticides. All right, that's just pesticides. It's not talking about heavy metals or any of the other stuff. And then the Environmental Working Group states 315 contaminants have been found in U.S. tap water, including lead, chromium-6, pesticides, and rocket fuel. Next slide. Lead, which is extremely damaging, especially to children. Lead in drinking water contributes to 480,000 cases of learning disorders in children each year, and that's from the Environmental Protection Agency. Next slide. This right here, this is messed up, is actually what it is. Everything that you see in blue there is drugs that are found in fish. Everything that you see in red there are personal care products that are found in fish. So unless you think your fish are down there putting sunscreens on, or your fish are getting prescriptions to drugs, then you can guess where this is coming from. The green ones there are antibiotics, and the purple ones are coming from the industrial industry, primarily plastic. And so if you've ever filled out a form and you've stated that you don't take drugs or that you're not on any medication at this time, then it's probably a lie if you're drinking the drinking water, because water is contaminated with drugs. Okay, next slide. I want to talk to you about mercury because it's a very important and critical issue. These pictures that you see there, I'm not trying to show you a horror show. What I'm trying to do is I'm sharing with you the facts of the matter. There was a corporation down about 500 miles south of Tokyo that manufactured plastic, drugs, and perfumes. And what they would do is that they released some of their toxins into some of their waste products into a stream that went into a bay. The people there, the community, ate the shellfish and ate the fish. And then they started getting this disease, and it was a really weird thing. It was neurological, which means that it causes a person to shake a lot, vibrate, can't concentrate, things like that. And cats, like pet cats, would literally leap off of the sides of things into water and commit suicide. And they thought, this is really, really strange. And so they began to try to figure out what it was. Some people were saying that it was this corporation. Well, the corporation didn't want this to be out, and so they tried to keep it quiet and denied it and things like that. And then people, as they would come up, they would pay them off and have them sign a contract. And then there was an investigation that was going on, so they decided to move their dumping upriver to another place, and then all the people along that river also began to get that same disease. And what it was is that it was mercury poison. Now, how does it get in the fish? It's in the water. And that's why when I make this statement to you, that the water itself, the source of water, is contaminated. And a lot of people will look at a bottle of water when I'm trying to describe to them, hey, there's some things wrong with that thing you're drinking there. And they'll say, oh, give me a break. You think I'm going to die because it's drinking a bottle of water? And I, with absolute full knowingness, I will just simply say, in what time frame? Probably not today. You see, the way that the political system in the United States works, and it probably works the same in other countries, is if you get an acute dose of something, meaning, bam, it hits you. Like if you were to, like I've traveled to Mexico before and drank the water, and I find myself flat out in the airport floor. and I'm sick. I'm throwing up, I've got diarrhea, everything is going wrong. That's an acute dose of something, bacteria or a virus. And so the politicians will move very swiftly on something like that. When you have an acute dose where a whole bunch of people all of a sudden start having these neurological diseases like in Japan, then the government will move in quickly. But if it is not an acute dose, it's an accumulation dose. So you're getting the same stuff, just not quite as much, but it's accumulating over time. And if you're drinking the amount of water that you should be drinking, then you're probably getting more and more and more of a dose. All right, does that make sense? I hope that you can understand how important that is. Next slide. Next slide? Yeah, all right. So when you look at tap water, you say, okay, all the water is contaminated from the source, and then it comes into the treatment center. And the treatment center, what they're primarily focused on, because of the governmental viewpoint of it, is to get rid of the bacteria and the viruses that cause people to, throw up and have diarrhea and things like that. And so what they do is that they kill the bacteria and viruses with chlorine. Now, it's good to kill the bacteria and the viruses, but it's bad to consume chlorine, all right, because it's strongly linked to heart disease. It causes little nicks in the arteries, and then the cholesterol fills those. What chlorine also does is that it's very effective at killing bacteria, in fact, all the bacteria, and meaning that you have good bacteria that you want to keep. 1/3 of the dry weight of your stool is good bacteria, or probiotics is what they're called. And so that good bacteria is what prevents you from getting illnesses in the first place, and it plays a major role in vitamin B and K as well as lipoic acid. And so you definitely are wanting to shy away from having chlorine. Fluoride is supposedly in there for your teeth, but it's proven to prevent the absorption of collagen and or the uptake of collagen, and so therefore women know this from the standpoint of, it ages them, their face and things like that. And then also men would be familiar with it from the standpoint of their knees make noise when they go up the stairs, or their toes make noise, because that's the connective tissue in the bone. Next slide. This right here is probably one of the most profound statements. This is by Dr. Dean Burke from the National Cancer Institute. He says, fluoride causes more human cancer death and causes it faster than any other chemical. Next slide. Bottled water. Okay, so we talked about tap. Now let's talk about bottled water. I watched a show that it was called Tapped, T-A-P-P-E-D. It was I watched it on Netflix. And it was very, very good about telling what's going wrong with our water right now. And what they suggested to do was drink tap water and to get away from bottles. And they made a very strong argument to this in terms of bottles. But what they did not do sufficiently was convince me that I needed to drink tap water. And that's the reason that I did so much research on this. So on bottled water, first of all, 40% of it is just tap water. Nestle owns around 30% of the United States' water, and they just have it under a bunch of different identities. Coke and Pepsi also have 5% each. And so around 40% of all bottled water is just tap water, okay? There's little to no regulations on bottled water. All right, now let me explain that to you. If there's a water company that draws water out of the state of Florida and sells it back to the Floridians, then there is no regulation whatsoever. They do not need to report anything. If they take that water from Florida and up to Georgia and sell it to the people in Georgia, then yes, they have regulation by the Food and Drug Administration, but they do not have to report anything. It's only upon request. Okay, so there can be anything in the water. At least with tap water, you have standards by which, however many people are in your city, then it will tell the regulators how often and frequent they have to show tests. And sometimes it's several times a day. All right, so Just think about every time you grab a water bottle that that there's no regulation, or very little, if any at all. There's two plastic substances that make up plastic bottles. In the little small crinkly little things, you're going to find PET and PETE. And these are all made from, of course, oil refinery, but this is in the benzene family, which is cancer-causing, but it's also an endocrine disruptor. And I'm going to talk to you about that, so don't get confused by that concept because it's thrown out a lot, but I found that a lot of people don't understand it. So your large bottles are made with BPA, or bisphenol A. And it's just it's a white chemical that they mix in the resin when they're making the hard plastic. Now, I don't want to just villainize bottled water, because you can also get BPA from cans, and you can get it from, you know, some glasses are made out of it, and DVD-ROMs, things like that are other sources to get it. But if somebody is consuming this, it's much more hazardous than when it's, you know, on a DVD or on a receipt that you get from, you know, Walmart or something like that. So, but when you're drinking it all the time, it's very critical. Next slide. That you understand what you're actually drinking. This is from Environmental Working Group. We found chemical contamination in all bottled waters tested. All right, and I think it was 1,031 bottles. They contained disinfection byproducts, fertilizer, residue, and pain medication. All right, so drugs are in the water as well as disinfection byproducts. Now, how could you get disinfection byproducts in natural water? No, it's not. You couldn't. Okay, so the only way that you would actually have that happen is either the recycling of water, or they're just taking tap water. Next slide. Now I want to describe to you, and I thought long and hard about whether or not to communicate this to you or not, but I feel a real responsibility that everyone understand what's going on, and later in the slide you'll understand why I am so adamant about this. Because a lot of times we get confused, and when we get confused, we shut down and we say, it's not going to make that big of a deal. It does make that big of a deal, so listen closely. Your endocrine system controls the internal body by sending chemical communications to cells in the body. These chemical communications are called hormones. And so when you hear someone say, my hormones are running wild, or something like that, it just simply means that somewhere in the endocrine system, I've shown you those that are from the neck up, and those are the hypothalamus. Doesn't matter what the words are. All you really need to know that is above your head, there's 4 major communicators, and they communicate to control your body. Now, what might they communicate? They might communicate, go to sleep. Okay, so that's controlled by your glands, your endocrine system. They might communicate, ovulate. They might communicate, get aroused. Has that ever fascinated anybody else, that you could have a thought in your head and then physically get aroused? Well, how does it do that? It is a chemical communication to the area of the body. That's exactly the way that it works. Produce mother's milk, right? So if a woman's breast milk doesn't come in, then maybe why not? It could be because of what I'm about to show you. Slow down the metabolism, make muscle mass, reduce sugar levels. Okay, so insulin is controlled by these hormones. Next slide. All right, so these chemical messages, this is a visual. So once we get out of the glands, if you will, the endocrine system, now it sent a hormone chemical message out, and see in the lower right-hand side, all of that is the cell, if you will. And it's a targeted cell for whatever needs to happen, whatever it needs to control the body. And on the edge of that cell are these little receptors. And these receptors are just always standing by. Like your cell phone is sitting in standby mode, right? It's waiting on a call directly to your phone. And in the same kind of a way, when your body says, go to sleep, it sends a message down to those cells that put you to sleep. Okay? And so next slide. So when you have some kind of a chemical, like BPA, I'm going to use BPA for this example because there's a backstory on this. When you have BPA, and I'll just quickly give you the backstory. Back in late 1930s, BPA, bisphenol A, they were thinking about coming out with it as a drug because it was an estrogen. They wanted to make it an estrogen drug. And then they decided that if they instead combined it with some other components, it would make a hard plastic and that they could sell more of those. Now, estrogen is a group of hormones that basically tell the female organs how to act and react, how to grow, and so forth. So I want you to just picture for a moment that in that plastic bottle that you see on your screen there, that there are these estrogen hormones coming out of the body, or coming out of the bottle, because that's what's happening. And what they do is that instead of the hormone grabbing the receptor instead grabs the estrogen from the bottle. Well, the way our bodies are designed, the amount of hormones that are sent out are so tightly regulated that it's to 1 trillionth. Okay, that's how articulate it is. And so a little bit extra is not all right the way the body views it. And so if you have this stuff running through your blood veins, and just imagine for just a moment that this is a guy who's drinking from this water bottle, and this guy is receiving estrogen, then he will get more feminine-like. Next slide. You see this gentleman who's on the left-hand side? That's a young boy. Boys are not supposed to have boobs. All right? I hate to say it so frankly like that. Can you back up to that slide that I was on, please? What happens there is that the estrogen is going through. You can tell by the way his fat is actually shaped that this isn't just normal fat. This isn't baby fat on the right-hand side. This is where the whole system gets way, way too much estrogen. It's when women begin to grow hair on their chest and on their face. It's when men get man boobs and are much more feminine-like. Next slide. This is from the gentleman who basically exposed the whole thing. Plastic chemicals are linked to obesity, prostate cancer, brain disorders such as ADHD, liver disease, ovarian disease, diseases of the uterus, and low sperm count in men. A Chinese study says from factory workers, exposure to bisphenol A was linked to a 4 times increase in impotency. Next one. BPA, and can you go back 2, please? And Dr. Strand, you're going to love this one. BPA triggers the release of almost double the insulin actually needed to break down food. High insulin levels can desensitize the body, and I know it's cut off there. Let me just, I want to make sure that you get the rest of this because this is an important one. Okay. High insulin levels can desensitize the body to the hormone over time. In other words, the hormone it may be releasing, but the body becomes desensitized to it and doesn't accept it anymore, which in some people may lead to weight gain and type 2 diabetes. We have a type 2 diabetes epidemic going on, and it's not simply because of sugar, all right? It's because of this. Next slide. All right, so in summary, first of all, you have to think about that water source is contaminated. It doesn't matter where you get it from, groundwater or surface water, meaning from a well or a spring or through a river, stream, or reservoir. It doesn't matter where you get it. It's already contaminated. And then on the tap water side, you've got chlorine, fluoride, pesticides, and heavy metals. And on the bottled side, you've got BPA, PET, which are both endocrine disruptors. And then it's expensive. right? So they basically draw our resource out of the water and then sell it back to us for a 2,000 to 10,000% markup. It is becoming the new movement, if you will, for businesses. You see, it started out with a gold rush, and then it went to an oil rush, and now it's going to a water rush. They're calling it blue gold. And the United Nations has valued our water at $1 trillion, okay? And so the companies are trying to buy up all the water supplies because they know that's the next resource that's going to be depleted, okay? And so it's a serious issue. Next slide. Okay, so I turn it over to Fred now. Or Mark.
Hi, everybody. Hey, welcome to this call. I'm so excited to be on it. Many of you know this product that we are going to be launching tonight has been a passion of mine since I first found out about the patent pending process that's available in a water filter. So I got to tell you, as soon as I found out about this, we put it in against all of our doctors and our scientists, and everybody got together. We wanted to validate that indeed this technology is as good as it claims, and if so, we want to launch it. Now, I didn't know anything about water filters when I first started. Honestly, I didn't know anything about it. We knew of direct selling companies selling water or specialized kinds of water, whole different types of angles. But as far as selling a unique filter, I didn't know of one. And when I met with the individuals that own some of the patents on the particles that are in our filter, they informed me, you know what, this really isn't going to sell on the shelf because I've got to charge more than is normally seen in a retail shelf, and people just won't pay it and they don't understand the difference. So it was a perfect marriage with direct selling where I said, hey, wait, it's okay to have an expensive product in direct selling as long as it's differentiatable in the market and we can explain it. And as a result, we have come out with a patent pending filter that is absolutely phenomenal in what it does. And I want to take a few minutes and try to give you a basic understanding of exactly what it does and what makes it unique. Because that, frankly, that's about as basic as I can get when it comes time to sell it. And I've had a good time telling people about it. And if I can sell it to people who want nothing to do with direct selling, you can sell it too. And I got one last little story. I was at church yesterday, and I had a neighbor of mine who owns his own business, very successful, got a beautiful house. He came up to me and said, Freddie, I want to be a distributor with you. I had to correct him and say, those are called representatives for us. And he said, this water filter, I can sell it. There are a lot of places and connections where I want to do this, and I want to sell it to individuals who are of interest. So to that end, I want to give you kind of the high-level overview of what I told him that got him excited that you can use to get other people excited. Now, basically, in water filters, there's really 3 types of microorganisms, all right? The first one is called a parasite, and there's all types of parasites. Sometimes they're called protozoans. Sometimes they have a little shell on the casing of this organism. They call it a cyst, but nevertheless, this is a little bug that floats in the water, so small you can't see it. But on a scale of microorganisms, it's actually fairly big. Parasites, if I were to blow them up in scale, are about the size of a basketball. And the NSF for removal, or the EPA for the destruction of these types of parasites in the water, require that you remove what we call, in this case, 99.9% of them out of the water. And I'm going to walk you through what this kind of vernacular means when it comes to removing items. The next one is a bacteria. It again is medium in size, and if I blow this one up, again, just like a parasite is the size of a basketball, a bacteria is about the size of a ping pong ball relative to the basketball. In order to say that you remove bacteria, you've got to remove 99.999949% of all the bacteria that is found in the water. And remember, there are all types of bacteria. They come in all shapes and all sizes and all types of preclusivity to reproduce and also to transmit. So what's 99.99 sounds like a lot of nines? Well, wait till you get to viruses. viruses are the smallest of all. If a parasite is the size of a basketball and a bacteria is the size of a ping pong ball, a virus is the size of a BB. And in order to remove them, it requires, in the vernacular of filters, 4 nines, which is 99.99% removal. So we have 99.9, we got 99.9999, we got 99.99. What do those really mean? Well, I want to do basic math. I love math. I know nobody else cares about it, so I tried to make it simple. I want you to think of a milliliter of water. Now remember, when we deal in the metric system, if we have a bottle that says, say, 500 milliliters, that would be 500 milliliters of water, which is like a cubic square, the shape of a die, but about the size of a sugar cube. Now, if we go to 99.9, I'm sorry, Mark's messing up my slideshow. He's driving me absolutely bonkers. Let's push the next one down. If we show 99% removal, what that means is, if you count the number of nines, it's the number of zeros after a 1. That makes it easy. So, at a 99 percentile, called 2 nines, it would mean that if there were 100 bugs, whether they be protozoans, whether they be parasites, bacteria, virus, if there are 100 of them in a milliliter of water, one of them would survive and get through. If we went to 99.9, that would mean if there were 1,000 microorganisms in one little sugar cube of water, one would get through. As we keep moving through the nines, notice how the number gets 10 times more. In other words, instead of having 1,000 bugs in a millimeter of water, there's 10,000, and only one gets through with 4 nines. 5 nines would be 1 in 100,000. 6 nines, or 99.999%, is what is required if you want to remove certain microorganisms for water. Think about how contaminated a bottle of water is. Hold up a bottle of water in your hand that you buy from the store. It's usually 16 ounces. Depending on the number of milliliters, let's say it's 150 milliliters. That would mean there are 150 milliliters of water. Each milliliter could have 1,000,000 microorganisms in there. And if something has 99.9999% removal, it would mean only one of them escapes after it passes through the filter system. So what does that mean to you? Well, let me tell you what it means. In ARIIXs, we hit better than 10 times the removal that is required by NSF or EPA, not just for viruses, not just for bacteria, but for parasites as well. Let me say that again. Most filters, they can remove, say, all of the bacteria or all of the parasites. And since parasites are so big, they're the easiest to remove. You know, I took a little time, and I went on the web and I found a website that was selling a filter. And I'm going to read it right here from their website. It states, our filter removes 99.999% of parasites. Now, based on the EPA requirements as well as the NSF requirements, they can claim that it removes parasites. However, when you move to bacteria, they brag they remove 90% to 99%. I want you to know the difference. That means they're removing all but 1 in 100. On our standards, we're removing all in 10,000 per milliliter. We are 1,000 times superior than this single filter when it comes to parasites. Oh, and bacteria, they are proud to say they do between 80% and 99.9, depending on which type of bacteria. What does ours get? 99.99999. 69. I hope that was 69. What does that mean? We remove all of them in a million organisms every cubic milliliter. It's available.
Hey, we have someone who's listening in on a phone that's not muted. If you're listening in on a phone, please mute it because it is audible through the entire presentation. Please mute your phone. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, son.
Yeah.
Michael, I'm all fired up, right? So if I can hear it. So basically what I would say in summary is this. Not only do we kill one of these categories, we wipe out, through a removal process of our filter, all categories 10 times better than any filter that can do it on one single category ever can. And folks, that's compared to filters of all sizes and all types. So let's go through that. How is it that some people purify their water? Well, first you have the process of boiling. But boiling and the inconvenience, give me a break. And you have to boil the water. Once it's reached a boil for at least 1 minute, then you got to deal with it. Not a real easy way to purify your water when you walk around. The next type is the way we have set up with a filter. Normal filters cannot get rid of all three categories at microorganism levels, including other toxins and heavy metals that ours removes. Third is a purifier. This goes through a filtration process after you add chemicals to knock out or remove or kill the microorganisms that are already in the water. So you have to bring your own chemicals with you, put it in there, and then filter out the chemicals you put in to be able to drink your particular water. UV lights are a way to remove it. You have a flow issue. You need an electrical current to it, and usually the size and the power source are prohibitive in terms of being portable. Next, chlorine dioxide, a wonderful additive chemical that you can put into to make sure you purify the water. Works fine as long as you're willing to wait the 15 to 20 minutes necessary to wipe out the organism. And I don't know, I think I'd wait 25 minutes just to make sure they all got wiped out. And finally, iodine. Iodine is probably the most common way in which we can remove and purify the water. However, that gets caught in your thyroid and it never goes away and leads to long-term health problems in the end. So a filter is definitely the most economical, it's the most feasible, it's the most portable, it's the quickest to use. The bad deal is, up until the ARIIX Puritii water filter, there was no way to remove them by NSF standards in all three categories. And now, Merry Christmas, we have it. And we owe it all to Kermit the Frog. We owe it to the amphibians because of a technology that exists due to Mother Nature on their back. On the back of frogs, once, a biologist wonders, why is it that frogs who live in very, very polluted waters may show deformities from the ingestion of water, but they don't grow mold or bacteria on their backs? And under microscope, they found out that frogs have these tiny, teeny, itty-bitty spears. And these itty-bitty spears allow for the water to flow over the top of the back of the frog. And by flowing over the back, these little spears pierce the membranes of the microorganisms and render them inert. So somebody got a great idea, which is now patented, which is exclusive for us in the direct selling industry. What if I could create these little microspheres on zeolite? I would be able to attract the heavy metals that are an advantage to zeolite, as well as piercing the membranes of the microorganisms. And behold, they came up with aquasphere technology. Woo-hoo! Aquasphere technology, coupled with our carbon and our filtration process, allow us to make an easy using filter that uses the spearing technology, so as the water flows through and across the filter and across this membrane like you see, pierces the very viruses and bacteria and then traps it in the filter, so that when we consume the bottle, remember all those 9s that leave 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 10,000? Well, based on those NSF standards, we don't leave any. They are completely removed from the filter.
So that's why you can drink this anywhere on the planet.
So, yes, now, you can't get gasoline and pour it in the filter and hope it makes water. And you can't use a petroleum product and hope it makes water. And I wouldn't dump every single chemical on the planet in water and drink it. But just to give you an idea, most contaminated water sources, if you said this is very contaminated with viruses, it would have 10 viruses per milliliter of water. Remember, we remove 1 in 10,000. So if there was only 10 and we've got 10,000, we can remove 1,000 times more viruses than is normally found in contaminated water. For bacteria, it's anywhere from 1 to 200 bacteria in a milliliter of water. We remove 1 million in that same milliliter of water. So the water is going to have to be, what, 10,000 times more contaminated before our filter could not remove all of the microorganisms in it. And in nature, usually contaminated water full of parasites has about 100 per milliliter of water. And we, of course, can remove over 10,000 per milliliter of water. And the beautiful part about all of this is we do it at a cost that is only 15 cents a bottle. In such a small portable device, to be able to sell it for so inexpensive per bottle makes it very affordable for anyone worldwide to now have access to perfectly clean water based on getting water that has already been, quote, treated in the first place. Back to you.
Fred, thank you. All right, great. Well, folks, we have, because this is such an exciting new launch, we have asked Deanna Ladson, our Chief Product Officer, and some special guests with her to come on and just chime in a little bit and let them kind of tell you about their excitement and why this is going to be one of your favorite products moving forward. So, Deanna, are you out there?
Unmuted.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you perfect. Go ahead, Deanna. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Mark. So far, it's been a really exciting call. We've heard from Tim really all the insane problems with water and what we've done as a community to our water sources. And then we had Mr. Cooper, who loves himself some math. And I know you can just feel the enthusiasm behind him and in his voice talking about this filter, because he, more than anyone, I think, recognizes truly what a game changer this product is for our community. And here's my turn. So I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to just make sure we all understand the basic importance of water for our everyday health and well-being. And you know, one of the best ways to do it is, have you ever noticed how lifeless a houseplant looks when you forget to water it? You know, it looks like it's just about, and then a little bit of water seems to perk it right back up. Well, I'd like you to remember this, because water is just as essential for our bodies, because it's in every cell, all our tissue, and every organs in our body. And that is why getting enough water every day is absolutely critical to your health. And I know you've heard it before, but I'm going to just reiterate it, that, you know, our body is about 2/3 of our body weight is water, and we would actually die in a couple days without water, because the human brain is made up about 95%, our lungs are 90, you know, our blood is 82, and even a 2% drop in our body water can trigger signs of dehydration. And dehydration, you know, I've worked with athletes all over the world, and one of the first things I tell them is that 2% drop in your body water will affect your ability to be great on the field. but it also affects us in everyday life. It affects our short-term memory. We have trouble with math. Maybe that's my excuse. Maybe I'm just dehydrated too much. We have a hard time focusing on a computer screen, and all those things can have a reaction just from being 2% dehydrated. Do you know that dehydration is the #1 reason for daytime fatigue? So I'm excited about this product, not for all the bacteria it can remove, not for the chlorine it brings out of the product, but for what it does to your health. Because our body water is so important to the mechanics of our human body. It cannot work without it. Just like your car can not run without gas or oil, our every cell and organ functions to make up our entire anatomy depends on water. And I'm just going to cover a few of them because water helps regulate a healthy metabolism. Water moisturizes your skin and hair. Water improves the immune system and helps you combat disease. It provides our skin with elasticity, you know. It helps dilute blood, and which helps support your blood pressure and good heart health. It helps flush the system. It helps dissolve foods and improve absorption of nutrients. It is a base for many important fluids, from saliva to enzymes to tears. It regulates your body's temperature. It helps with digestion. I mean, I could go on and on, but despite all of these, so many people fail to get the amount of water they need. In fact, the World Health Organization estimates that about 75% just in America don't get enough water and in fact suffer from mild chronic dehydration every single day. And quite frankly, that should alarm us. At ARIIX, we have a panoptic vision of health, and we brought this water bottle along not only just to give you safe, clean water all over the planet, because we know a real healthy body requires clean water. So if you find yourself struggling to concentrate or developing headaches, it could all be from dehydration. So it is highly important that you ensure your family, your friends, your loved ones, anyone you care about to drink enough water, and to make sure that you should be drinking, and just so you know, tea, beer, soda, those do not count. Often they're diuretics. They actually make you more dehydrated. And since it's such an important component to our physiology, it just makes sense, right, that the quality of what we should be drinking should be just as important as the quantity. Here's a quick little easy way to know if you're dehydrated. Drinking water, when you go to the restroom, your urine shouldn't be anything more than very light pale yellow. If it is more than that, you are dehydrated. And the water you're drinking should always be clean and free of contaminants so that you ensure like really great health and wellness for you. And that is the basic reason of why we made this water bottle an important part of our products, that we fitted into the panoptic vision. And I do give Fred Cooper all the credit for seeing this product, understanding the value, understanding just how revolutionary it is, and I want everyone on this call to understand how critical it is to immune function and overall health and well-being to be hydrated. We have one of our scientific advisory board members on the call right now, Dr. Marlisa Hurt, and I've asked Marlisa just to come out, you know, for 30 seconds and share with us something that is, you know, just really quickly her vision on why, you know, water is so important. Marlise, are you there? Marlise, are you there? If she's not there, we'll just... Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. Dr. Marlisa Hurt from our Scientific Advisory Board. I asked her just to come out just really quickly to kind of reiterate, you know, just the importance of this. What do you got to share with us, Marlisa?
Deanna, this is so exciting to me. This is such a personal victory for me because my family and I have faced serious health challenges as a result of our water being poisoned. And for almost 10 years now, I've been so passionate about sharing that clean water is the most fundamental component of any healthy lifestyle program. And it's so thrilling to me to be a part of making the vital gift of pure water affordably available to people all over the world. It's truly exciting.
Marlisa, I appreciate it. I mean, that's how we all feel, and we know it's so critical. So I thank you. We're going to be doing more webinars about very specific benefits and talking about, going into more detail about all the things we just chatted about. I also have a couple of our key leaders on the phone who are just going to jump out really quick and share with us their enthusiasm about this. I believe we have Steve Swartz on the line. Steve Swartz, you there? Hey, Steve, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, they had me muted there. Yeah, absolutely, very excited. Texts are blowing up over here, and people are getting ready to order. They're very excited about this. What I love about it is it's a demonstratable product, and it's a first-class product. It looks really cool, and who doesn't drink water? Everyone drinks water. Most people are drinking tapped or reverse osmosis or bottled water, and now we have a solution to get rid of all of that stuff. And ARIIX is delivering a first-class product. I can't wait to see how this is really going to blow up our businesses. I'm very excited.
Hey, Steve, thanks so much for jumping out with us. We appreciate all your efforts, man. We also have Lynn Allen Johnson, you know, another key leader in industry for us. Lynn, please share just a minute for us.
I'm here, Deanna. Thank you. And I'm just so fired up about this water bottle ever since I first learned about it, not only for what it's going to do for ARIIX and our industry, but for our planet, you know, for the world. So many people suffer from challenges because they don't have clean drinking water, and I just believe this is a game changer, and I am pumped up. I can't wait to get it, and thank you, ARIIX, so much.
Thank you, Lynn. It's fantastic. Fantastic to have you a part of the team. We really appreciate that. So I'm going to just wrap up by saying that we're not just a supplement company. We're not just a foods company. We're not going to be just a skin care company. We have a vision for complete health. And this includes healthy water, healthy home products, all of this. And this Puritii water bottle that's launching today is one of the best things you can gift your friends or family with. A little bit of education on how important proper hydration is for the body, for all its functions, goes a long way. Anybody on the call with kids who play sports? They should have one of these bottles in their hand. So I appreciate all of you. I can't wait to hear about your wonderful experiences with these water bottles, and I'm going to turn it back over to Mark.
Deanna, thank you so much for your insight, and everyone's been on the call. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Tim, I want to bring you back up and have you kind of take us through who needs Puritii. So let's go through this, and we're going to wrap this call up tonight. And Tim, are you there? We unmuted you?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can. Great. Yep.
Beautiful. All right. So, hey, thanks so much, Fred. That was quite a mathematical equation that you put us through. I felt like I was back in algebra class or something. And Deanna, I couldn't agree more. So, where does this bring us to? In my view, is we have a serious problem out there, and the solutions that are offered, and Fred did a great job of walking you through what the current solutions are, and none of them are convenient at all that work, all right? And so I think this is a beautiful product. I try to look around and say, who can I help? Now that I've done this research, somebody had sent me an email this the other day, and it was about a comparison. And he said, hey, take a look at these water bottles. How does that compare? How does that compare? I said, you compare it. And then send it back to me. And the reason that I wanted him to do this is because when you actually see it, you'll realize, oh, wow, this is an incredible product. And that's the reason that, that I personally am so excited, and obviously from the other people on the call. And so first thing that you do when you've got something that really helps mankind is you look around and say, who do I want to help? Who do I care about the most? And so you ought to be front and center, all right? You are no good to anyone if you're not around, or if you're lame, meaning that some part of your body is damaged, and this stuff damages it, okay? And then it's parents and kids, and I tried to get a picture of my son Tristan drinking from the water bottle, but it just came right after I'd sent the presentation off to Mark. And then anybody who has the symptoms that I discussed, if you see, you know, men who have feminine-like symptoms or the vice versa and things like that, then you need to like help them out. You don't invalidate them or anything like that, but it's just share with them about what you've learned about water. Gifts for people, birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, you know, baby showers, things like that. You can gift people these the bottle and the filter. That's a very, very helpful way to help people. And then when you start thinking about it from a business perspective, I like to look around and say, you know, who's most likely? So any of your hikers, your trekkers, these are people who walk long distances and climb mountains, and rock climbers, things like that. Snowboarders and skiers, you consume an enormous amount of water when you snowboard or ski. Next slide, please. And then the people who travel to other countries, and if you ever hear the phrase, don't drink the water there, if anybody is going to any of those countries, then you want to make sure that they get a bottle with a couple of filters. And then those people who share or try to prepare themselves for emergencies. And everybody on this call, you should do that. I mean, all you have to do is look around at any catastrophe that hits anywhere, whether it's Louisiana, whether it's Haiti, or it's Japan, or wherever there's any kind of a disaster. I mean, it's always a potential. And water is the #1 requirement. All right, that's just it, is find your water source. You've got to have a water source. And so there's a couple of ways to try to do that. #1 is factor in a gallon a person per day times the number of people that you have times the potential time you're going to be without water. All right, that's the way that the military does their figures and tries to plan for any kind of disaster, tries to plan for when the men are out in the field. Where is their water supply? How are they going to get water? Okay, so that's what you need to be thinking with. There's entire communities built around this, and rightly so. And so I would encourage you to get involved in those communities, #1, and then offer you know, an incredible solution. The way that this is designed, the filters. Okay, so you've got a water bottle. You unscrew the lid. You put the filter in there. It's got a straw on it that reaches down into your liquid, right? And so one of the best things about this filter, and one of the most unique selling features that I have found, is that the distance between the filter and your lips. Think about the distance between your tap water and your lips. It's got to go through all of that corrosive pipes. It's got to go all the way through your plumbing and PVC and all the extra toxins that are inside of there. It comes out your faucet nozzle. How long has that nozzle been there, right? And then it hits your glass, within the glass. What this bottle does is it filters at the point of consumption. It's incredible, right? So once you put the filter in, but the thing I want to tell you about preparedness is that filter lasts forever as long as it's in its package. And so if you were to store a bottle or 2 or 3 or however many you think, and then let's say a year's worth of filters, they will stay just perfect until you open that filter and put them in there. Then they're good for about 50 gallons of water or a couple of months. Okay? And so from a preparation of an emergency, that is the best scenario, because trying to store water, what are you going to store it in? Something plastic, right? You're not going to get glass containers for all of that, or stainless steel. And so the very best water thing that you could have would be one of these water bottles, all right? Trunk bags, these are emergency bags that you have in the trunk of your car in case there's some sort of a disaster and that you're in your car and you're away from your house. And every car should have an emergency kit. There is just no ways about it. I've been out there in the military and around too much to know that that's got to be done. A bug out bag, that's one of those bags is that if a catastrophe hits, you can bet immediately all the grocery stores are going to be empty. Right now, the supply chain and the way the trucks deliver products to grocery stores, they are on a routine every day or every couple of days at most. And so what that tells you is that under normal procedures, that a grocery store is going to last about 2 days. And so if there's a run on everything at the grocery store, you can bet it's going to be all gone in a couple of hours. All you have to do is, live down in Florida, watch a hurricane come up, and then watch when you go to the grocery store and there's no water. Okay? That's the way that it happens. And everybody is just going to be standing there going, but wait, this isn't fair. You're right, it's not fair. You didn't prepare. Okay? So that's called a bug out bag, and that means is that if you've got to get out of your house and go somewhere else, then you grab the bug out bag. People who drink a lot of water, all right, those are people who are going to be bringing in an enormous amount of toxins. People who you watch carrying a bottle. What a conversation starter. Unbelievable. What a conversation starter on an airplane, right? Stewardess comes by and hands you some good old PET or BPA, and it's a great time to talk about it. People who work out, people who drink water at a restaurant. Okay, so when they say, would you like bottled water or tap water? Right, you say tap water, and then pour it in your water bottle. People who don't drink 2 liters of water a day. All right, you need to share with them much of what Deanna talked about, and then why this is better. Next slide. And the other thing that I just want to encourage you to evaluate is that we are not alone on this planet. On the left-hand side there, that is a fish that's 5 weeks old, and I want you to look at the contents that was in his belly. All right, that's plastic chips. In other words, the oceans have become a toxic soup, and so has our regular waterways. We have friends that, like, whether it's animal, whether it's bugs, whether it's birds, whatever it is, these are our friends. These are the people we share this planet with. And they take care of most of the pests if we would just let them do it. I remember when my mom didn't want the bats around anymore at the house. I lived on the farm. And so my dad got rid of the bats. And, of course, then we had a big mosquito problem because the bats eat the mosquitoes. You see, in other words, it's when we interrupt the chain, it's where we create catastrophes. And when we start pumping chemicals into the water that is killing the fish, that's a bird that's on the right-hand side. And you can tell, obviously, what killed it. He can't fly with all that plastic inside of him, right? It's ridiculous to think that, that we have so polluted our environment with plastic that that's what's going on. Next slide. And this species, the frog, not only gave us the technology, the idea for the technology, but when I was in the military, I was a frogman, and so I'm very, very close to this particular group because they are so much important. They are so important in the waterways in America, in every other country, the freshwater. And they do so much for the water, and when you see that they have a very, very thin skin, and they absorb water through their skin, and they absorb anything that's in the water through their skin. And so what we've got now is that we have frogs that are coming out mutated. We have alligators that are born with the inability to have kids because of the pesticides and the BPA that's in the waterways down in Florida. Okay, we have it goes on and on and on. And this isn't a problem because of plastic. This isn't a problem because of BPA or pesticides. This problem is because of us. All right, I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but it is. In other words, because we didn't get to it earlier, it became a problem. Now, why is it our problem and not somebody else's problem? It's a sad, sad thing when you really realize this, and that is, if whoever should fix it was going to fix it, they would have fixed it. We wouldn't even be staring at it as a problem. So evidently, if you're aware enough to be able to recognize the problem, then it's your responsibility. And so if it's your responsibility, and I'm taking this one on big time, this is not about selling a bottle for me. This is about a crusade for us to save our water so that we even have it to drink, so that we even have fish and frogs and tadpoles and every species that is a part of our marine web out there. Okay, so what do we need to do? I'm going to give you an action plan. Next slide.
Okay, Tim, there's just a couple of things. I was going to jump in right here. We just did some fun little slides just to show some comparisons of the filter and what it can purify, because some people might say from a value statement of, well, what does that one little filter do? Well, just look at it this way. An ARIIX filter can purify over 200 plastic bottles worth of water while generating only 2 ounces of plastic waste. So you look at the environmental friendliness of what we're doing here in this. Another fun little factor is one filter can purify over 50 gallons of water, which is over $300 in bottled water. So you think about those tiny little filters that, as Tim said, will last indefinitely as long as they're still in that nice package. So you can put these on your counter and know that whether you have a hot tub or you have a creek by or a lake or whatever, you have access to water that is pure of 50 gallons minimum that you can use. So from a value statement, we wanted to make sure you understand this is not just a new expense to you, it's actually prosumerism where you're actually already spending this money and you're just now redirecting this. And in fact, if you think that gasoline's expensive at $3.50 and sometimes it even gets a little higher than that, doesn't it, close to $4 in some areas, the price of your water, think about this water bottled water can cost as much as $6 a gallon for water. And so when you're looking at things where you can, for 15 cents, fill up your bottle here, this is an incredible value as we're moving forward. So we wanted to kind of take you through the pricing, and then I'm going to let Tim kind of tell you what he's going to do. The Puritii stainless steel water bottle is going to be offered for $29.95. Now that's an incredible price, and there's the part number, and that's a loyalty product. There's no points on this because as a loyalty product, it's a one-time purchase. It's kind of the vehicle to get you there. And so with a loyalty product, you get that, but remember, there's a loyalty bonus of 15% paid to the sponsor, and 15% goes into the leadership bonuses. So we're excited about this as our first loyalty product. While it's a one-time purchase because you don't need a new stainless steel bottle every month, it is a great price and a great product for you to be able to get started with. If you'd like to buy the Puritii plastic bottle, this is the one that is toxic-free, safe, a little easier to squeeze. So the double stainless steel lined, if you don't mind sucking a little bit, it's not bad, but it keeps the temperature more constant. It's an amazing bottle. I kind of prefer the stainless steel. I know Fred's been using the plastic one, but the plastic, literally, you can just squeeze and the water comes right out. The filter single price is $54.95 and 40 points. Now I'm giving you the auto delivery prices, and there's the stock numbers for you. So they'll be online as well if you don't get them tonight. They're online right now, Marshall tells me, so we're ready to go on this. Now, to make it more convenient, we put together a package, and that package is the Puritii pack, and that's item number 264-010100, and that is one stainless steel bottle, one plastic bottle, and 2 filters. Now remember, these filters last for 2 months. So each filter will last 2 months. That's 4 months of filtration there, or if you and your spouse or if you're selling one, whatever you'd like to do, you can get out there and retail immediately and use these. That pack is available for $149.95 and 75 points on the auto delivery price. Now here's the cool thing. You can go on and put that on, change your auto delivery if you'd like this week, if you've got an auto delivery ready to cycle, so you can send that out and get going. And that kind of keeps you busy and keeps you activated for this, and you'll have water for at least the 2 months. If you'd like to buy the filters at a discount, remember they're $54.95 each, we have a pack that's $104.95 and 75 points on your auto delivery. Now, for the month of June, we're going to provide that for $99.95. So $99.95 and 75 points for the month of June for as many of those as you like, so everybody can get extra filters and try. Make sure you stock up on a few of these because, as Tim said, you want to make sure you have plenty of these. Now I'm going to turn it over to Tim again as far as the ordering. It's real simple. Oh, before I do, though, we had a fun little contest that Deanna ran. And in the contest, we're going to give away a free water bottle and a filter. So if they're listening tonight, we had some funny ones. Some we can't really repeat, but others were pretty clever. We had Jan Willem, and he had clear water for everybody. We had Paul's son, unique revolutionary product that will benefit millions of people around the world. We had Nordine that said universal breakthrough that will eternally change the way we perceive and consume water. Melinda said, wow, refreshing. This is what water from the Garden of Eden tasted like. And the winner for tonight that we're going to go, we'll have more of these fun contests, but the winner is from, and I hope I pronounced it right, Nai Saturan. Nai said, it's not clean unless it's purity. So it's not clean unless it's purity is the winner of the water bottle and the filter, and so we want to make sure you're there. One other thing I want to remind you of is if you go to puritii.com, you will see not only the video, but you'll see some brand new cool filter animation where you can actually go in and you can actually remove the bacteria, the viruses. As you slide the scale over, you'll see how your water gets purified. It's a great little visual on there, and that's on puritii.com right now. So you can go on there and go through that and click on that filter, and it shows you exactly how it works. So it gives you the education, it gives you the graphics that's there. Now, Tim, I know that you're the guy that everybody wants to know, what are you going to do? So I put up this slide for you, and I'm going to let you close us out.
All right, thanks so much. And great offers there. And just to kind of just get that frame of mind that I was talking about so that you can understand where I'm coming from. And that is that this is not about selling a bottle to purify water. This is much bigger than that. Yes, I'm going all in on this bottle. I'm going those techniques, those methods that I was showing you in ways that that prospects that are out there. I'm going all those avenues. Okay, I'm gonna move a lot of bottles, and because I feel obligated to do that. I feel obligated to my next door neighbor. I feel obligated to everybody that I know that I need to tell them, and I also need to create things that I can tell the world about this, because it's funny to me that we can have 25 million hits on some person who is creating damage over in Africa, and we have all this following and all this energy around it, but right here in the United States and everywhere in the world, this one single thing, this toxic pool that we call drinking water, it needs fixing. And so we have to really banner this cause. We have to raise the flag on this one because this affects everybody. It's not just an isolated group. I'm not invalidating or undermining any other crusades that are going on out there. I'm just talking about that this thing has to move. All right, so so if you're a guest on the call, if you were invited here by someone who says, hey, I want you to take a listen to this this unique launch here, then you just get back to that person that put you on the call, recommended you to get on the call, and just ask them, how do I go about getting the water bottle? And if you're a member already, then you just go into your back office in the regular way that you would go and order any kind of a product, and you're going to find it in the drop-down box in the back there, and then you can order your water bottles and filters that way. What I'm specifically doing is, this is just tonight's order, is I'm going to get two Purity bottles, and just so that I can have everyone kind of thinking with this, I would recommend you get one of each, is the way that I would do it. The stainless steel is my favorite, but if you want to do a demonstration, like there's really cool things that you can put Coca-Cola inside of it. You can squeeze the bottle and it shoots out And so if you have a plastic bottle, it'll shoot out. Okay, so you can squeeze the water out, and you can see that it removed all of the color, and what you've got coming out of there is water, and it tastes like water. And so for demonstration purposes, I would recommend the plastic one. For carrying around and drinking, things like that, then I would recommend the stainless one. So really, I recommend you get both. Get 2 filters and put them on automatic delivery. And what they'll do is that they're going to come every 2 months for you. And then I'm going to get 3 Puritii bottles, and then enough filters for 1 year to put in an emergency bag. Okay? And so what that comes out to be is 3, and then 3 bottles and 15 filters that will last me, my wife, and Tristan in case of any kind of an emergency. And those things I put away and I forget about. And so with that, I sincerely appreciate you being on the call and staying on the call and being patient with us going through this. It really was a merge between trying to get 2 different technologies to work there, and so I greatly apologize for that. But nonetheless, you got the message. You hear what's going on. I didn't sensationalize anything. I really did tell it like it was, and Fred did an awesome job, and so did Deanna and our special speakers that came on and tell what they've got going on, how they see this. It's just tremendous, and so I appreciate you. And for those of you who want to get behind me on this crusade and share the word about the importance of us having pure water, then I give you a big hug out there. So thank you, and I'm going to go order my filter. Good night.
Thank you so much, Tim, and everyone. Now, those of you that were on tonight, it just is a special little fun thing. I have Dr. Cooper in here. Dr. Cooper, why don't we give them a little? They were great troops. First of all, we apologize about you being over a half hour late. That was our bad on this one. But I think it's going to pay off a little bit because we just want to give you a little bit of an insight of what's going on here at ARIIX. Sometimes it's hard to know exactly what's happening out there. So, Fred, I know we talked a couple weeks ago about having record sales, but what happened last week?
Yeah, all right. You're going to hear this. You might want to put it on recording because it's not going to happen very often. It shames me to admit it, but I very possibly could have made a mistake. You know, I've been really excited about how well ARIIX is doing, and just as a little piece of statistics, where Mark and I came from, we now do more in a month than that company did in its first entire year of sales. And that was a fun deal. It was fun for me to talk about when we had our first $500,000 week, but most companies, when they start in this business, it's by the end of their 3rd year that they hit their first week of $1 million sales, or their 4th, or their 5th. Shoot, I've got a neighbor who's in a direct selling company still waiting for that week to happen on him. So I got to tell you, I made a mistake. I should have done pre-ordering on our water filters last week. I had no idea we would get so close. We were so close, well over $900,000 for sales in the week. We are growing at a rate. I want to be very clear. Is it possible we sustain our current growth rate? Yes, it's possible. But is Fred Cooper going to go out on a limb and say we're going to hit this? Absolutely not. And I hope you all prove me wrong. But I was really hoping to hit our first $1 million week within the next 4 weeks so that we could brag we're years ahead of everybody else. But just so you know, if our current trajectory remains as it has for the last 8 weeks, average growth, ARIIX would be a $1 billion company in 3 years. We are going absolutely crazy. Thank you so much for all you are doing for the sales. We will make sure we have the inventory. We're purchasing more than we ever thought. We've already placed in second orders because we're getting nervous. Our first order wasn't enough. I think it was $1.5 million. In last week in product orders. So we will do everything we can to get our product delivered on time, in process, so that we can achieve this next great milestone. Thank you so much for all of your efforts. And we'll be talking next week on the introduction of yet new products that are exciting for us to bring out.
Congratulations, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.